Some more transfer portal news coming out on a Wednesday afternoon as Arkansas guard and Jacksonville native Devo Davis has put his name into the transfer portal. Davis played in 30 games this past season, averaging 5.9 points for the Hogs. Welcome in to your PTN Extra this week. Courtney Mims alongside Mike Irwin and Evan Kimiko. Thanks for joining me this week, guys. We're just going to get straight into the drama here. And I'm going to say it's drama because the transfer portal always brings drama. And I think a lot of people, when you look at social media, are kind of shocked by this news. I knew that we knew it was coming, that he was possibly leaving the program, but I'm a little shocked to see his name entered into the transfer portal. Mike, your thoughts on that?
Well, like most of these things, unless a person gets very specific and says, this is why I'm leaving, which didn't happen in this case, then all we've got is speculation. Number one, he could have reached a point after being under Musselman all these years where he said, hey, I really didn't have the kind of year I want. Maybe I'll go get developed by another coach somewhere, find another situation. Maybe I'll be better if I do that than continuing to come back here. That's one possibility. Another possibility is he and Musselman were always close. Muss said at one point he felt like he was his own son. Could mean he's got some information that might not be here next year, and he's leaving because of that reason. I think the most likely scenario is the thing that caused him to sit out toward the end of the year. The rumors that spread supposedly from Missouri fans and Arkansas fans picked up on it. Very unfounded rumors, very unfair to him. His mother got on the internet at one point and was upset about it. I think he just wants away from all that stuff, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. That is really unfortunate if it has come to that. Again, the only person who knows why he is leaving is Devo Davis. But again, I think you're exactly right, Mike. Some of those rumors that he was getting wrapped up in, I mean, that can hurt as an athlete, seeing all of that over the internet and things like that. Evan, your take on Devo Davis, were you kind of shocked?
Yes and no. I think it was surprising to hear already that Devo was moving on. I think that, almost would have wanted to see if he would have waited for whether or not Muss announced to his return or announce if he's going to leave. But at the end of the day, you kind of look at Erin Barnum last year. She was here for 4 years, and then there's kind of a certain point where when you're an athlete, you got to be ready to move on, whether that's, an athlete or a college kid. There's always a time to close one chapter and open another chapter, and I think this could be a really new and exciting chapter for Devo, and he has to go take the leap. Look, he's been at Arkansas. He's been to the Sweet 16s, the Elite Eights. He's been at the heights with this program, and now's the time for a new challenge and a new opportunity. So, yes, I'm surprised that it came this early, but no, I think it's time for him to move on.
A lot of people saying it was like a KJ Jefferson situation where, yes, you have given so much of yourself to the university, but like you said, it is time to move on. This brings up another transfer portal conversation here, and we're going to talk about the women's side of things because on Monday afternoon, it was pretty shocking to see just not one women's basketball player enter the portal, but two. And Talia Scott, I think a lot of us were kind of expecting that, but then Saylor Poffenbarger as well, which I'm going to straight up say, I didn't really expect her to enter the portal. And we talked to Mike Neighbors this morning, and he kind of said, look, I'm not going to reveal any information about specific athletes and their intentions, but everybody is different. Mike, were you kind of surprised to see Saylor? Were you surprised to see both of them? What do you think about those two leaving?
Not really. Based on what I've heard, one of the reasons we've talked about this, that a lot of people are still speculating why didn't Neighbors, why is he still here after the disappointing season? They haven't been to the NCAA tournament, and what we were told is they got no NIL money, and the athletic director's aware of that. So obviously that would affect players. I think that definitely factored into Leah Scott's situation. I mean, she's sitting down there in Florida where she can probably command some pretty good NIL money. Now, I don't know about Poffenbarger. I don't know. I still believe she probably figures she can get some. And there might also be some issues where she just said, hey, this team's not very good, and I want to move on and try to find another team.
Absolutely. And I think NIL is a big conversation when we talk about these athletes leaving. A lot of people don't want to believe that it's because of NIL money, but at the end of the day, it's business decisions for these athletes, right, Evan?
Welcome to 2024. Absolutely, it's a business at the end of the day. And, Arkansas, for one of Mike's points, they're going to be losing 43 points per game with, subtractions of Talia, Saylor Poffenbarger, and Michaela Daniels now moving on to hopefully a great professional career. But it's a business at the end of the day now. And I don't know if Coach Neighbors is fully at fault for not getting the NIL fundings because of kind of the overall curiosity around what this Arkansas Edge NIL fund is going to be. And right now, it mainly seems like it's going into football. We've seen a lot more football centers events with Arkansas Edge. And we don't have a lot of answers on what Arkansas edge is. And, Coach Neighbors, you can't fault him for not knowing that. Yes, you want all your head coaches to know it, but if us in the media are still asking questions about what is Arkansas edge, they've announced it back in November for the Duke game, and we haven't heard anything about it since. How can a head coach fully operate, especially in today's day and age, in the SEC, a Power 5 conference, with the funds that other teams like South Carolina and Florida and other schools have that Arkansas doesn't?
Yeah, and we can only speculate on how much funds Arkansas has because of what you just said, the transparency that fans are asking for with this Arkansas edge. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation we could dive into on another day on PTN Extra, but I know the fans want transparency. They want to know where that money is going to, how much Arkansas actually has in funding, and those are questions I'd still like answered as a media member. So again, we're going to move on, though. I think you're going to like what we're talking about next because I didn't know this was happening today, but man, the SEC was sneaky like that, and they announced the 2025 opponents for the football season. And look, we know the Hogs' opponents now. What's interesting about these opponents is that all 16 SEC schools will play the same opponents in 2025. They are scheduled to play in that 2024 season with home and away games flipping. So look, for the Hogs, that means in 2025, they'll host Auburn, Mississippi State, Missouri, and Texas A&M, while they'll travel to LSU, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas. So it's literally that 2024 schedule, but flipped, right, with the home and away games being different. What's kind of interesting to me that I saw on the news release of this, and what really intrigues me, is that the Razorbacks are hosting Texas A&M for the first time since 2013. No more Jerry World, right, Mike?
Well, we knew that was coming, and A&M owes Arkansas a game because of the COVID year. They went ahead and played at A&M, but then they didn't return the game the next year. So that's not surprising to me. What's a little interesting about this is it looks like they've never made any official announcement about whether they're going to go with a pod system or a permanent opponent, because those are two different things. You've got a situation in 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027, when you flip and play the other teams that you haven't played those first 2 years, there are only 7 teams, not 8. So where do you get the 8th team? If you create a permanent opponent, let's say it's Missouri for Arkansas, because it's always Missouri.
It's going to be Missouri.
Has to be.
Then you've got 8 every year. And I think this does several things, but mostly it eliminates that 9-game schedule they had talked about. Looks like somebody has decided, 9 games is too much, 8 is right, and we'll balance it out every year.
Or is it the SEC just buying themselves some time? None
Could
of us
be.
really knew that this was dropping today. I kind of said to you, Evan,
We looked at each other and we're like, did this just really drop?
We
were shocked.
We didn't know it was coming today. So again, I think maybe the SEC might be buying themselves some time to go into and reevaluate a 9-game scheduling format. But who knows? Evan, how do you feel about those opponents in 2025?
I mean, look, it's basketball season, but the SEC football programs just said, nah, we're going to take that from you. We're going to take the spotlight today. Thank you, football. But I think if you look at this away schedule, it is daunting. I mean, you saw what happened at LSU and Ole Miss this year. 2 really close games, really fun games, but both of those programs are going to continue to build. Ole Miss is one of pretty much the stalwart, maybe the early favorite to win the SEC in 2024. I don't think that's too unfair to say. But you also look, Arkansas hasn't been to Knoxville since 2015. They traveled to Knoxville in 2025. They haven't played the Volunteers since 2020, a game which they won, so that's going to be really fun. And then you look at the other one, the Texas matchup. That's got my eye. First trip to Austin since maybe the early 2010s under Brett Bielema. So it's a really exciting time, and maybe a little before Bielema because the 2014 Texas Bowl. So I get confused. It's all those dates. It's all those like Texas
thing
things
right now.
But it's a really exciting schedule, and it's fun for us who we look at kind of this year's away opponents and go, okay, Mississippi State, Auburn's pretty cool. But that's really it. And now you're like, wow, these are 4, staples in college football, cathedrals to say the least. And that's exciting for Arkansas and really the Arkansas fans who travel because we know a lot of them do week in and week out.
Absolutely. I definitely have my bags packed for that road schedule. It's a tough one.
We're going to have to fight for who goes to like Texas and Tennessee.
Absolutely. Mike, are you going to go to any of those road games maybe?
I don't make that decision.
I know. We'll try and get you to one. That'll be fun. We still got much more to get to on PTN Extra. You're going to want to stick around because me and Evan, we're going to do some bracket challenge, aren't we? We're going to fill out our exactly. It's bracket season. We're going to fill out our brackets and try and do one together. Maybe
I think so.
Yeah. We'll try and we'll come to some conclusions on some of these games. That's all coming up next on PTN Extra. Welcome back to PTN Extra. This is the portion of the show where we're going to try and get through a bracket, but we're not going to go through the entire bracket. Evan and I learned that may take too long.
Too much time.
It is. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you this, Evan.
Yeah.
We have filled out our brackets. Look, they are filled out. There's your
Mine's printed, and I got my suit on. I had to suit up for this.
Yeah, you put your tie on.
I did.
For your bracketology
I did.
report. I love it.
I did.
I'm just going to ask you first round.
Yeah.
What are the matchups you're eyeing? Maybe potential upsets there for
Okay,
you.
love it. Number one, straight away, Nebraska, Texas A&M. It's an 8-9. It could go either way. Probably one of the most electric players in the Big Ten in Keisei Tominaga versus Wade Taylor IV. We've seen him play. He came here, put up 32, I think, on Arkansas.
Yeah.
So absolutely two guys that are going to light it up. Other really, good matchups I'm looking for is that Gonzaga-McNeese. McNeese is a team where people have them going far. There's a lot of that, the one mid-major every year. That's McNeese. That's what it's been.
The Will Wade train
the
over
Will
here.
Wade train is going to be chugging along. The other upset is that New Mexico-Clemson game. Joe Girard for Clemson has some tourney experience when he was over at Syracuse, but New Mexico's been hot. They did really well in that Mountain West tournament, so I expect them to be that upset. So those are really the three games that I think could be really fun. The other one, Wisconsin, James Madison.
Yeah,
I know Alyssa and I are on opposite sides of that. Me being a Wisconsin fan, Alyssa being a JMU fan. So those are probably the four that I'm most looking forward to.
Yeah, that's one of my upset picks. I am going to go with, I think the last time I checked, that was one of the most picked upsets of this year's bracket challenge. So again, that one is a very hot upset. The other one that I know you kind of feel the same way as me about. We're talking that Alabama-Charleston matchup.
See, look at that, everyone. We're on the same page.
I picked Charleston.
I did too.
I've watched a lot of Charleston basketball this year. That's a little weird for everyone sitting at home being like, why does she watch Charleston basketball this year? That's because my dad is from South Carolina. We're from, the Charleston area is very close to the little town he's from in South Carolina. So we do watch some Charleston basketball. And I do like how they can control the pace of the game. And Bama, what we've seen this year from them, I mean, they haven't played great defense. I think
to quote a micro and
there you go. Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's one to keep an eye on as well. For me, it's that JMU game. I picked them. Charleston as well. Okay, we're going to move forward now. We've talked about our first round upsets. Who is in your Elite Eight?
My Elite Eight, we look at the East. I have UConn and Auburn. That's the first. Oh, wait, no. Is that eight? No, I'm Sweet 16. Sorry. Trying to read here. My Elite Eight in the East is UConn, Iowa State. I think UConn takes down Auburn. Look, I'm a big Bruce Pearl fan. I think they have what it takes, but I'm not going to go against the defending champs. Also, I don't like Big Ten teams. In Big Ten, the last time a Big Ten team has won the entire tournament was back in 2000. It was Michigan State. The only other Big Ten team to win the tournament was Maryland. They weren't in the Big Ten at the time. And outside of Michigan or Michigan State, the last Big Ten team to win 1987, Indiana. So Big Ten, they've gotten there. Wisconsin's gotten to a championship. Michigan State's gotten to a championship recently. Michigan went in 2018 under John Boehline. But other than that, the Big Ten really starts to crumble. And I don't know if that's a factor of, well, they get 10 teams in. Of course they're going to crumble. Or, they get 10 teams in and they just aren't that good. The Big Ten only has about 6 teams this year. So I don't love the Big Ten going deep, but if there's a Big Ten team that's going to do it, I think it's Illinois or Wisconsin. I'm against Purdue. So that's one, UConn, Iowa State. The other one, North Carolina, Arizona. That one's pretty straightforward. I think Arizona's got a good path. North Carolina is going to have to face St. Mary's. That's a tough one. We go to the South now. It's Duke Marquette. I really like this right now. I think Houston, they could lose to Nebraska, but if Duke is playing the way we think they were playing, the way they were playing before the ACC tournament, they're going to be really hard to beat.
Yeah, that's the key, right?
It's always the key. It's always and it's funny because going in, I was really high on Duke and Tennessee. The last one is Tennessee, and I had McNeese going to the Elite Eight.
Wow!
I think that's a little crazy in this bracket.
Beating Purdue,
and it's a bit biased, but whatever, I'll take it. But before the tournaments, I was high on Duke and Tennessee. And then they fell. But you know what? We're going to ride the train, because why not?
Well, here's the funny thing. Purdue is a team that usually chokes this time of year, so that's not a terrible thing. But Tennessee is also a team that chokes this time of year.
That's also true.
So I kind of agree with you there, but I'm going to go Purdue, Tennessee. I am actually going to go against what everyone tells you and says that these teams choke. I'm going to say that they actually do make it to the Elite Eight for me. I'm going to say that. Now, here's my bias in there. Florida does make it in that South region against Houston, so I'm sorry.
I thought we were talking about it's Shaka's year.
It is Shaka's year. All right,
it's not Shaka's year anymore.
That's what I got on my bracket. Todd Golden's year. That's what it is. And UConn, Iowa State, I have the same thing in that East region. And St. Mary's and Baylor, I actually have in that West region.
I like that Baylor pick.
I like Baylor over Arizona. I could be wrong on that, but hey, that's what I got.
I have them in a couple brackets.
Yeah, that's what I got right now. I'm going to skip ahead and just say, who's your national champion?
I know, it's Tennessee. I'm going to do it this year.
You're gonna go with
I'm gonna
Rick
go with
Barnes
Rick
in
Barnes.
Tennessee?
I know. Why are you not? I thought you were.
I mean, they're gonna get to my championship
Okay,
game.
but are you going like UConn then, the safe pick?
No, that's not. Listen,
That's
that's not.
yeah,
the
but
safe.
it is the safe pick because they're the defending national champions.
They are, but have you watched them
Yes,
play
I
this
have
year?
watched them play this
There's
year. That's why they're going to the Final Four.
There's no one on this bracket that I think could beat them.
How many losses do they have this year? Who do they lose to?
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, exactly.
Three,
So
three.
people can beat them.
Three
teams
teams.
have beaten you. Three teams have beaten UConn, so they can lose. But I think if Tennessee's rolling on all cylinders, firing on all cylinders, I should say, I think they get really far. And I think, I think this is the year.
Rick Barnes loves that
I'm
you
really
said
nervous.
that.
I'm really nervous.
Rick Barnes in
I don't
Tennessee.
like brackets.
Rick Barnes loves that you said that.
Yeah.
And by the way, I do want to mention, we filled out our brackets here before, but you can always see what we filled out. It's over on our website. You can go do that right now, knwa.com. You can actually fill out your own bracket and
Try and beat us.
Try and beat us.
Yeah.
Compete against Evan and I. You have until Thursday morning. That is tomorrow, as
Yes, it
we are
is.
filming this on a Wednesday. That's tomorrow morning at 10:45 a.m. So go ahead, fill out your bracket right now. Try and beat us. Maybe we'll put some stakes on it or anything,
I know us in the room. I want to have a little bet going in the room. Loser has to label a bunch of clips, like, do work that none of us really want to do.
Okay.
But you never know. I don't know if Alyssa will bite bet for that.
I don't know. We'll have to ask her when she gets
We
back
will.
from vacation.
We will.
So sounds good. Thanks for watching PTN Extra this week. We'll see you next Wednesday for more.